USA as well. I hope I didn't forget any other country. Where do you come from? Okay. I come from a little dot on the map. It's called Malta, M-A-L-T-A, and it is a small island at the center of the Mediterranean, and it is also mentioned in the Bible, in the Acts of the Apostles, because Paul, on his way to Rome, was shipwrecked on our island and stayed in Malta for 3 months. He healed the sick and he preached the gospel to the Maltese. So the Maltese heard about Jesus Christ from the Apostle Paul. Now, today I'm going to talk for 20 minutes, not more. We're going to talk about a very important word. And the word is disciple. Disciple. Now, I noticed that in the kids they gave us, there was a little green book. Do you remember it? Have you thrown it away? No. The title of this little green book is in Latin, so nobody can understand it. But it is disciples, and this is where the word in English, disciple, comes from. Discípulos. Now, where does discípulos come from? What does the word mean? It comes from a verb, discere, to learn. To learn. A disciple is somebody eager to learn. A disciple is somebody who has lots of questions. He doesn't really have all the answers. A disciple has lots of questions. He needs to ask these questions to somebody who he believes can give an answer. So a disciple is not a person on one's own, because a disciple needs a teacher. So it's like father, son. I am a son because my father in 1959, and my mother, not my father alone, of course, my mother had a little baby in Toronto, Canada, 1959. Then I know I was playing to the audience there, okay? Forgive me. But they went back to Malta. I was 11 months old, so I don't remember Canada from my first stay there, and I've been to Canada back and see how beautiful a country it is. So father, son, you are a son because you have a father. And a father is a father because he has a son. Before he has a son, he is a husband or a single parent. No, not even. You are a parent because you have a son. There are words which imply a relationship with someone. Disciple is one of them. You cannot be a disciple on your own. There has to be somebody you need to ask questions to, somebody you need to listen to, somebody you need to follow. So you remember immediately the verb Jesus uses when he chooses his first disciples. He looks at them and he says, "Follow me." The disciple is one who follows the master. So when we talk about being disciples of Jesus, the equation is very simple. I am a disciple of Jesus because I want to listen to him, I want to obey him, and I want to follow him. Now when Jesus says, follow me, he understands that we are going to listen to him and obey him. Let's start from the first time he chooses his disciples. And this is Matthew 4. As Jesus walked by the lake of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon and Andrew, his brother, casting their nets into the lake, for they were fishing. He said to them, "Come, follow me, and I will make you fisher of men." At once they left their nets and followed him. He went on from there and saw two other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in a boat with their father Zebedee, mending their net. Jesus called them. At once they left the boat and their father and followed him. Now there is an important thing Jesus does, because Jesus is a leader, we follow him, but he's also the Son of God. And only God can forgive sin. Now Matthew, one of the four evangelists, had this very important experience when he was called by Jesus. As you know, Matthew was a publican. He was a tax collector. He was part of a category which people loved to hate. He was not popular. People were afraid of Matthew. He was there behind his bench asking for money. And people knew that he had the power to take away their homes, to take away whatever they had, because he had authority and he had soldiers backing his demands. So he was part of a category that were really, really despised. Jesus walks into the village where Matthew is working, looks at him and calls him. He tells him, "Follow me." But he does this by having mercy on him. He has compassion of Matthew. He knows that he is a public sinner and no Jew would go into Matthew's house and eat with him. But he still tells him, "Follow me." And this is what Jesus says when he calls Matthew. And this is a very important message for all of us. As Jesus moved on from there, he saw a man named Matthew at his seat in the custom house. And he said to him, "Follow me." And Matthew got up and followed him. Now it happened, while Jesus was at table in Matthew's house, many tax collectors and other sinners joined Jesus and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why is it that your master eats with those sinners and tax collectors?" When Jesus heard this, he said, and this is a very important thing for us guys, listen to Jesus. Healthy people do not need a doctor, but sick people do. Go and find out what this means. What I want is mercy, not sacrifice. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners. So it is not a problem for Jesus when he calls you, that he finds out that you are a sinner. It is not a problem with Jesus. Because Jesus has the power to forgive your sin. He doesn't need you to be clean before he calls you. But as soon as he calls you, he starts giving you the power to say no to sin, and day by day to say yes more and more to Him. And this is where I need to remind you and explain to you the beautiful motto Pope Francis chose when he became a bishop years ago. In Latin, it is miserando atque eligendo. These are two words in Latin, and there's a conjunction. Having mercy and choosing Matthew. Then the phrase continues, he told him, follow me. Miserando, having mercy, atque eligendo, to choose. So the Lord chooses us at the same time He has mercy on us. So being a disciple is not being immediately holy. It is the beginning of a path to holiness. And what is holiness? Holiness is to imitate Jesus today. It's not being like a photocopy of St. Francis or St. Clare. It's you obeying Jesus today. Now there are some conditions Jesus describes when He talks about following Him. And this is where I would like you to listen to Jesus talking about discipleship. And this is what He says. Jesus, and I'm reading from Mark chapter 8, called the people and His disciples and said, if you want to follow me, deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. 3 steps. If you want to follow me, deny yourself. What does this mean? How can I deny myself? I am a gift of God. I was created by God. What does it mean to deny myself? Well, we in 2000 years have had time to understand what Jesus is saying. In some other translations, it is to renounce to yourself. To renounce to my ego. We all have very big egos. Very huge. And this is something we need to work on. I need to deny my egoism. The idea that I am at the center of the universe. That everything has to be according to my will, as I want it. That every plan I have has to succeed. That everybody needs to be around to serve me, to give me pleasure, to do what I want. Denying myself means putting myself at the service of other people. And this is also important in love. I worked for a number of years in a marriage tribunal, and I had to read cases of marriages that did not succeed. One of the main reasons was that the parties had not decided to deny themselves. They were still very much worried about their own interests. They were narcissistic, if not psychologically, in their attitude to each other. They only thought about their own interests. If you want to learn how to love a person, you need to start forgetting about your self-abilities. Deny yourself. Carry your cross. What does this mean? Why does Jesus tell His disciples, carry your cross? First of all, a cross is something that is heavy. It is something that is not easy to carry. It is something I do not choose. We all have our own little crosses, or big ones. We have limitations. We have also unfortunate things that happen to us through our own sins, through our own faults. For example, I visited a cancer hospital before coming here to Brazil, and I met people who had lung cancer because they had decided to start smoking at a very young age. They have a big cross to carry. It is a result of a decision they took. But now they have to carry a cross that they chose to, probably, not without even thinking. It's the same with people who have other limitations they haven't chosen, to carry one's cross. I met a couple who have a disabled child. They didn't choose to have a child, but they carry it with such joy and wonder. And they say, this is the best thing that happened to us in our lives. So things may sound negative. They are not necessarily negative. What Jesus asks you as disciples is to carry your cross. And then the third step, follow me. Now to follow Jesus means, first of all, that he is the leader. I am behind him. I'm going to go where he goes. So when he meets me at the end of time, he's going to tell me not very many things, He's going to tell me, I was hungry and you gave me to eat. I was thirsty, you gave me to drink. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and in prison and you came to visit me. These are the things that Jesus will test us on at the end of time. This is going to be our exam. Now we all had exams, and we all have hoped to know what the exam paper is in order to prepare well. The final exam we all know. We all know what Jesus is going to ask us at the end of time. Now is the time to prepare, to see Jesus in each other, to treat each other well. Disciples, however, is something that we cannot live on our own. We need to be disciples with each other, as a family. We call this family of disciples church. Now church means a people gathered around Jesus, listening to his word, trying to follow him. And Jesus gave his church, gave his community, signs of grace. What is grace? Grace is Jesus working in my heart. So when Jesus forgives me, and the sacrament of reconciliation, he is visiting me with gratuitous love, free love. It's not doing what we want, but it's love that I don't need to pay for. It's his love for me, and that is what grace is. It's God's love for me. And when he forgives my sin, you know, and we know through experience, there is a certain peace in my heart. There is a certain calm. I am sort of relieved of a big burden. That is the grace of Jesus. Jesus also visits a couple with his grace when they get married. He visits a young man with his grace when the young man becomes a priest. And the great grace, however, is to be a Christian. To be baptized in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So being a disciple has a cost. It's not always easy, but we cannot lose hope, and we have to be full of courage. There was a young boy, before I came to Malta, that I decided to confirm is Jacob, and he is 7 years old. Doctors told his parents that Jacob is going to die in August, next month. He has a very aggressive kind of brain cancer. Now this boy is very sick, 7 years old, a good boy, and we decided we would give him confirmation. And a young priest prepared Jacob for the sacrament. And he came, I went to his village and met his family, and I met Jacob. And Jacob was very weak because he is almost dying. He doesn't know he's going to die. His parents have decided not to explain to Jacob what is going to happen to him in a few weeks' time. But I asked Jacob, as the sacrament asks, do you renounce Satan? And Jacob looked at me and said, I do. I realized that at 7 years old, Jacob knew what saying no to sin was. And then I said, Jacob, do you say yes to Jesus? And he looked at me and said, yes, I do. So this young man, 7 years old, will be in heaven in a few weeks' time. Doesn't know it. He was interested also after confirmation in the gifts his family gave him. An iPhone. Well, in a few weeks' time, he will not need all these things. But he was happy to receive them, as a young man would do. But when it came to the more important questions, Jacob knew what he was doing. He wanted to be a Christian. He wanted to be a mature Christian. Recently, I went to the prisons, and we have a section for young people. Most of them are there because of drugs, unfortunately. And I, as a bishop, could not set them free immediately. They have to, be there for quite some time. But I felt that I was telling them, you may be despised by others because you are in prison, but you are still part of the family. That is the beauty of being church. We are all sinners, but we all want to be followers of Jesus. It is not a problem realizing that we are weak. In front of our laptops, we are all tempted with pornography, we are all tempted with wasting our life almost in a virtual existence. And we need the grace of Christ to say no at every moment of our lives. But we don't need to get discouraged. Being disciples also means enjoying life. I would like to finish with a note of joy. There is a great joy in being a Christian. There is a great joy in hoping in Jesus Christ. There is a great joy in being together as church. We come from different parts of the world, and we're in Brazil. We have come together because we believe, or we're trying to believe more, in one person, Jesus Christ. And we need to show the world that it is cool, it is wonderful joy to be a Christian. I've been to India, where the parish priest from here comes 5 times. And I have always been impressed by India and the fact that we are a tiny minority. Because in India is a huge country of 1 billion people. It's like China, these great countries. And we are like 0.1% of the population of India, we Christians. But when it comes to schools, when it comes to hospitals, We need 30%. A tiny fraction of the population is doing so much good in education, in health, and I'm sure it's the same in Indonesia. I'm sure it's the same in the islands of the Lesser Antilles or the Little Antilles, Bermuda, and the rest. We Christians are that leaven in the bread that makes everything grow, and that is a great source of joy. I will stop here, and I would like to listen to your questions. I hope I will be able to give very clear and short answers. But thank you very much for your attention. God bless.